I've been working remotely and traveling full-time for the past 3 years. So in this video, I will be answering some of the most asked questions. Things like how I afford to live in different countries, how did I find a remote job, and how much does it cost to travel 365 days in a year. So a week ago, I posted a story on my Instagram asking you guys to drop any questions that you have for me, anything relating to working remotely and becoming a digital nomad. So I'm going to be answering some of your questions and showing you how this lifestyle can be possible for you too. And who knows, maybe working remotely or having the location freedom is one of your goals for next year. And hopefully this video can give you some guidance on how you can work from anywhere you want to. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Dian. I've been a digital nomad and working remotely for the past 3 years. I make content about travel, working remotely, things you can do to make money online so you'll have the flexibility to work from anywhere you want. And if that's something that you're interested in, then make sure to join the community by clicking the subscribe button below. And without any further ado, let's get started. So I have my laptop here with me with all of the questions that you guys have sent in. And I'm gonna start with the first one. And some people actually ask, what is digital nomad? So if you're new to this term, a digital nomad is basically someone who earn their money online. So they work remotely. All they need is their laptops and a stable internet connection. And since you can work from pretty much anywhere, most of digital nomad also choose to travel and live abroad. So you're not tied to a certain location or an office. Basically, this is your office, your laptop. And a common misunderstanding is people think you can only be a digital nomad if you're working in IT or you're a tech genius. But in reality, digital nomads can be writers, marketers, designers, teachers, consultants, virtual assistant, and yes, a content creator. So being a digital nomad is usually associated with freedom, because you can pretty much work from anywhere you want. You probably will be working from Bali for a couple months and then Thailand the next couple months. And honestly, one of the things that I really loved about being a digital nomad is the flexibility to live in different countries and experience different lives there. The next question is, what can I do to become a digital nomad and how did you get started? And the first step to be a digital nomad is to get a remote job. Being a digital nomad doesn't mean you just move to certain countries and stop working. Obviously, when you move to different countries, you still have to be able to maintain your cost of living, being able to afford rent, transportation, food, etc. Which is why you have to at least have one of the skills that you can monetize that will give you the flexibility to be able to do it remotely. So skills like digital marketing, consulting, IT, content creation, there are actually so many skills that you can learn nowadays that will give you the freedom to work remotely. And the thing is, nowadays, it's easier than ever to learn all these skills. You don't necessarily need to have a certain degree to become a digital nomad. My background personally was in medicine, which is something that is very different from what I'm doing right now. And I know with medicine, it's kind of tough to land a remote job because it requires you to be physically at the hospital. So the first remote skills that I learned is digital marketing because I personally am interested in that field. So I took a couple digital marketing course, started working with digital marketing agency, and eventually quit medicine to pursue my dream and being able to work remotely. If you're also interested in digital marketing, then I will leave a link to a free masterclass for the digital marketing course that I recommend. It is a course by Seth Himes, and Seth has helped a lot of people land remote job in digital marketing. But yeah, that's basically how I got started. I worked with a digital marketing agency in Australia, and at that time I was living in Bali, so it's fully remote. After that, I transitioned to become a freelancer, or I had a couple clients where I helped them with social media marketing. And around a year ago, social media started making money, and that's also part of my job now. But since becoming a digital nomad, I have lived in Thailand, Vietnam, Bali, Indonesia, Japan, Georgia, Peru, and now I'm here in Mexico City. So the key here is to find a skill that will help you land a remote job. And since there's a lot of different options out there, then make sure that you pick something that you're truly interested in. The next question is, how much does it cost to be a digital nomad? And I want to be a digital nomad, but I'm not rich. So I've seen a lot of misconception that living abroad is expensive. And I know that can be true if you choose places like Canada or US or Australia to live in, but you just have to pick a place that suits your budget. To give you an example, when I first started to work remotely, I was in Bali and it was during the pandemic. And Bali during the pandemic was really affordable. It's not like the Bali that we know nowadays. And then after that, I live in Da Nang, Vietnam, and also Chiang Mai, Thailand, which is some of the location where the cost of living is pretty affordable, but you don't have to sacrifice your quality of life. So I remember I'm still eating out. I still can go to the gym, do certain activities on the weekend, go explore around. And that is really the point of being able to have the location freedom. So you can kind of expose yourself to different culture, different environment, and just enrich that part of your life. So the cost of living obviously can be vary depending on the place that you choose. But when I first started, I also had an emergency saving. Basically, I had a 6 months worth of my life expenses. So when I moved to a new country, I don't have this scarcity of not being able to make it there because I kind of have this cushion for me to survive. Also, like the places that I pick are not out of my budget. I always share about the cost of living no matter where I lived in. So I've shared about the cost of living in Chiang Mai, Bangkok, Koh Phangan, Da Nang, Tbilisi, Georgia, Tokyo, Japan. Where else? Bali, Lima, Peru. So if you're interested about any of those places, then you can just look up that video on my channel and it will give you a full breakdown of everything that you can expect when you're planning to move to that city. So the key here is obviously to pick a place that you want to go and you want to live in, but make sure that it's not out of your budget. Most countries in Southeast Asia, you can survive with less than $2,000 per month. And so far, the most expensive place that I've lived in is probably Japan because the accommodation there is slightly higher than other places that I lived in. Next question is, how do you manage to travel to so many places? And do you need a special visa to work remotely in other countries? So for those of you who don't know, I have an Indonesian passport, which is not the strongest. And that actually has been something that I have to deal with, especially because I travel full time. It's not as easy as if you have a stronger passport. For example, if you're from US, Canada, or even Singapore. If you hold one of those passports, then lucky you. For me, every time I have to go to a new country, I make sure what is the visa requirement, how long I can stay there, and just make sure that I have enough time to live and also explore the countries that I'm going to. For example, for me as an Indonesian, I don't need visa to most of the Southeast Asia countries. For example, like Thailand and Vietnam, I don't really need a visa and I can stay there from 30 to 45 days. And then I can extend the visa or re-enter. So it is pretty flexible, and since I move around every couple months, that works out for me. However, it's not advisable to stay in one country for more than 6 months because then tax can be more complicated. But nowadays, many countries also have a digital nomad visa. Places like Thailand, Indonesia, Portugal, Spain. So with this visa, usually you can stay in a country without having to extend a visa or re-enter for like 6 months or even more than that. This let you legally work online while staying in those countries long term. So each country has different requirements. For example, with Thailand, they have a DTV visa. And with this type of visa, you can stay in Thailand for 6 months at a time, and it's also a multiple entry visa for 5 years. I believe this visa costs around $300, which I think is really worth it, especially if you want to choose Thailand as your home base. So I would say only apply for this type of visa once you know you want to stay in that country for a longer period of time. Next question is, what are the pros and cons of this lifestyle? And do you regret leaving your career as a doctor? To be honest, this is one of the most asked questions I've got. And after 3 years, I gotta say that I'm very glad I chose this path. I mean, leaving medicine wasn't easy, and I'm not saying that it's for everyone. but it has opened doors like I've never imagined. I wouldn't be able to grow this way. I wouldn't be able to experience life this way. I wouldn't be able to meet people that I've met so far with this journey and got inspired by their stories. One thing that I really love about being a digital nomad and living abroad is how I can meet new people, also like learn new cultures, pick up a new language. Like in Vietnam, I noticed that people take their morning coffee seriously. I love how instead of people scrolling on their phone when they're eating, they have this like tiny tables and chair on the side of the streets, and people just like eat together, enjoy their coffee. And since the table is small, you just don't pull your laptop or your phone out. Or in Japan, where the culture there is very respectful and also disciplined. I was really amazed at the attention of details that Japanese people put in pretty much everything. Like even at how they serve meals and how life in Mexico is very vibrant and social. There's always music, dances, street market. And I also get to learn Spanish here. So this lifestyle is not always perfect. Obviously, constantly moving, meaning you have to plan accommodation, visas, healthcare, and transportation, figuring out like how to get from point A to point B. And it definitely can get exhausted if you're not organized. You're also moving from one place to other place with a suitcase. Then you also have to let go certain things, which I think it has taught me to be more minimalistic and mindful with my belongings. And sometimes I do miss a stable home or seeing friends on a regular basis. Obviously, when you move from one place to other place, sometimes it takes time to build friendship, and sometimes it's sad because you build some friendship, but then you have to leave again. So I always make sure to keep in touch with friends that I meet along the way or friends back home. And I always try to call my family a couple times a week just to stay in touch with my family. Another question, well, this one is not a question. It's just a comment. It must be hard to work while constantly moving around. And another question is, how do you stay productive? Yeah, this lifestyle really taught me a lot about being disciplined. Even though I move every couple months, I make sure that I practice slow travel. So I usually try to stay in one place for at least couple months. This helps me to avoid burnout and actually feel settled enough to focus on work. I've seen a lot of people get burnout from living this lifestyle, and one common mistake that I've kept seeing is people just move every couple weeks. You gotta realize that you're not on vacation, even though it looks like it. You still have responsibilities. You're still working. So it's not like every day you just go out and explore. You still have to allocate time to work. And for me, I usually try to set a consistent work schedule. So usually in the morning, I will go to the gym because staying active is very important, especially because I chose this lifestyle to travel full time. That gives your body a lot of stress. So being able to go to the gym consistently is very important to me. But after coming back from the gym, I just start working until 4, 5, or 6, depending on how much work I have that day. And I usually have 2 days off in a week where I can go out and explore. Obviously, I want to make the most out of the time I got in a certain place. So that's when I plan like the activities, sightseeing, or like meeting friends. Next one is, what do you look for before choosing a place to move to? This is a very good question. So I usually consider a couple factors before deciding to move to a new place, a new cities, or a new countries. The first one is obviously the visa requirement. So can I stay there for like 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, or do I need to apply for a visa beforehand? Like in Japan, for example, as an Indonesian, I can only stay in Japan for 15 days. But 15 days was too short for me, and it's not really enough. I mean, like it sounds more like a vacation instead of being able to immerse myself with the culture and also the environment there. So I ended up getting a 5 years multiple entry visa. So yeah, those things are the things that you need to look into, do your research, and plan ahead. The second thing is internet and workspace. So it's the place that I'm going to have a stable internet connection, because a strong Wi-Fi connection and somewhere I can work is a non-negotiable, because I still have to work. For example, when I was in Kopangan, like that place is beautiful. It's calming and everything. You have the slow paced lifestyle. But for me, it doesn't really work, because when I was there, the internet connection was like on and off. I still remember there was this one day when the entire island had a blackout and and I couldn't work for a whole day. And the next thing is cost of living. Like, can I afford to live in that place for a month? And next one is also something that's really important, which is community. Like, are there any expats or digital nomad who are living there? Because being around like-minded people really makes a huge difference. I think this is why a lot of digital nomad are very drawn to places like Bali, because there you can find a lot of people who work remotely, a lot of like entrepreneurs. So yeah, you can make a new connection and also nurture friendship and learn something from each other. And last but not least is culture and lifestyle. Like, do I want access to the beach? Do I want a big city? Like, how's the food, the customs, the daily life? I used to be like a beach person because I love surfing. That's why I love living in Bali. But nowadays I really enjoy the mountain, especially after living in Chiang Mai. And I'm also starting to love like big cities like Mexico City or Bangkok, where it's very convenient. All right, the last question for today is, what is your favorite place so far? Which countries would you recommend for staying a few months? Honestly, it's so hard to pick just one place, because every countries give me something different. But if I have to pick somewhere to live long term, I think it would be Thailand. Chiang Mai especially has a special place in my heart, because I used to live there longer than other places. I love the food, the huge nomad community, activities that you can do there. It's still very accessible, convenient, but it also has a lot of like nature things that you can explore. Or Bali, because I feel like I have a lot of friends in Bali. Like, the lifestyle is very balanced. I think it's very easy to live a healthy lifestyle in Bali with the gym culture, the healthy food. But I also have to give a shout out to Mexico City. I've really enjoyed Mexico for the mix of culture, the food. Also, it's perfect for someone who have to work in US time zone. If you work remotely for US company and you're living in Asia, then a huge difference of time zone might be tough. And also it's perfect if you want to practice or pick up Spanish. But anyways guys, that's everything for today's Q&A. Thank you so much for sending all your questions. If you're planning to work remotely, I wish you all the best. I'm sure you're gonna have the best time. And yeah, you can try to implement some of the tips that I've shared in this video. And if you have any further question, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video so far, don't forget to like and also subscribe, and I'll see you on my next one. Bye!